Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. Today is day 53, and today I'm going to be taking you through a slow flow. I had a tough workout in the morning with a personal trainer that I train with once a week, and today I thought that maybe just doing a slow flow, little more slow than flow. We're going to be staying in each position and holding each pose for between 10 and 15 breaths. So we're not going to be flowing through a lot, but we're going to be holding the position a lot and really feeling how the body adjusts as we stay in that position and we're breathing. So this might be a great one if you need to have a recovery day or a stretch day, or if you just want to feel like you could really understand what it feels like to be in that position and let your body just adjust to that pose. So join me on the mat. Today all you're going to need is a blanket. So if you want to pause me and find a blanket or a towel or something, just because if we're going to be staying in a position for a long period of time, you want something a little bit more cushiony on your knees, just to protect the knee joints and not let it feel so uncomfortable. If you're on carpet, then that's fine. So you're going to come on the mat, and we're just going to start in a child's pose. And remember, we're doing about 10 or 15 breaths. So bring your knees about as wide as the mat. Settle your hips back onto your heels, and I like to kind of push my hands into the floor so that they really go back. And then really slowly start to slide your arms out in front of you, walking your fingertips forward by keeping your butt situated down towards your heels. Reach them forward, and as you reach them forward, notice how your shoulders come up to your ears. Now relax your fingers and start to kind of take your shoulder blades and wrap them around your ribs. So as you do that, it's going to feel like your arm bones are starting to like externally rotate, and they slowly drag away from your ears. Now keep your arms there. Close your eyes if they aren't already. We're going to take those nice, slow breaths. Each pose, maybe just doing a body scan to notice how each pose feels in the body, gathering information. Breathing into the entire width of your torso. Now remember, the torso is three-dimensional, so send that breath three-dimensionally, out and in. Taking one more breath here. Slowly come up using your hands to help you onto all fours. Bringing the knees under your hips. And now take your hands one palm print in front of you. Tuck those toes. Spread your fingers really wide. You want to use the entire hand to grasp onto the floor. Try not to just hang in your wrists. And then lift your hips back up nice and slow. Reaching your sit bones up towards the ceiling. Releasing your head. And then again, feeling those shoulder blades wrap around your ribs as your head can just hang loose. The purpose of your downward facing dog is to stretch and lengthen the spine and feel equalized through your limbs. So maybe not your legs are working too much or your arms working too much or the right side and the left side of the body working too much. So see if you can find that balance here. And once you find the balance, just start to breathe. Then shift your weight forward into a plank and lower your knees down. Untuck your toes. And then get your wrists under your shoulders. And now shift your weight forward so that your shoulders are slightly over your wrists. We'll pull your entire head and face back so that you feel the front of your throat engage. Start to tuck your tailbone under and find the rib and pelvic connection. Squeeze your buttocks. Just feel the steadiness of this pose here. So even though you're drawing your ribs and your pelvis together, can you breathe into the sides of your ribs and the backs of your ribs? If you start to shake, that's okay. Just know that you're going to be in a tough pose here, using all of your muscles, but you will eventually come out of it, and you'll come out of it stronger. Just doing a check again, doing a body scan. Are you using the right side more than the left side? See if you can equalize it. Are your elbows completely locked out? See if you can just micro bend them. And are you pushing the floor away with your fingers? And then settle back into a quadruped position. Take your right leg and step it in between your hands. And then you're going to come up, tucking the back toe. Okay. Take one hand to your belly and one hand to your sacrum. So the hand on my sacrum is flipped backwards. My palm is facing outward. And then just gaze back at your back foot. Make sure that it's not tipping out to the side. You want the heel to be completely straight in line with your second toe. That way you know that you're stretching your big toe. Okay, from here, again, we're going to start to tuck your tailbone. And as you do so, the right buttock should start to squeeze. Maybe just tap it or feel it with your left hand. And then your left heel is going to press into the floor and isometrically drag it back. Okay, as you do this, you should also feel like how the pelvis kind of just aligns itself forward. And that's that sensation you want. Once you feel like it's kind of aligned, even though your legs are apart, now see if you can hold here and breathe. Letting your spine grow taller. And almost feeling like that right thigh, the front of it is trying to pull up towards your belly. Sending the breath into the entire torso. Remember, your ribs start all the way up here, right? Your first thoracic vertebrae is right up here. So the first rib is actually almost in line with your clavicle. And then the last ribs, which are floating for a lot of people. Some people don't have all their ribs, but for most, we do. And they end right about here, okay? All the way over here. So think of it as like a whole box, the front, back, right and left sides, including your armpits. And then what else did I miss? The bottom half and the top half. Like if I was gonna cut my body in half, it would be your diaphragm and the upper portions of your shoulders. Good, and then slowly come out of this stretch. It is intense. And then bring that left leg back. Again, you're gonna sit back onto your toes, so make sure that your heels aren't flopping out. And then go ahead and just sit back onto those toes. And while we do this, we're gonna stretch the arms. So the right arm is gonna come up, bring it behind your head, and the left hand with your palm facing backwards is going to come up as well. So you stay there. I'm going to switch my position so that you can see. So right hand is reaching for the left, and the left can reach for the right. And if you can touch them together, great. You can hook onto them. As long as there's no pain in your shoulders, or you don't feel like you're yanking at it, okay, it should feel moderately comfortable. And if you can't, then just leave them be where they are. And just notice when we do this on the other side, if this side, feels different than the other. As you do this, try not to let your ribs flare out so you're still keeping your core engaged. Good, let those toes stretch. I know it's tough. And then let it go. Come onto your hands and knees. You can tent your fingers if you'd like. And then just tap the tops of your feet down. And now we do the other leg. So right leg steps in between your hands and then come on up. One hand on the front of the pelvis, the other hand behind. Left toes are tucked. Okay, so you're going to get that extra toe stretch now on this side. And you're going to start to curl your tailbone under. Left buttock is squeezing. Just feel with that hand. Make sure that it is. You can poke it. And then the right heel is pressing gently into the floor, and you're isometrically dragging it back. So you should feel the back of your hamstring, maybe even the calf, light up. Okay? So you can practice this or feel a difference where you let go completely. Notice how the pelvis kind of like drops and shifts. And then you realign and you engage. Notice how it kind of comes together and feels super stable. Sending your breath to your ribs, your hips, pelvis. Maybe noticing how it feels right side versus the left. And then slowly let it go. Bring your hands down, step that right leg back. And then you're going to, again, sit back onto your toes. And seeing if you can be comfortable in this discomfort. Take your left hand up, bring it down the back. Flip your right palm to face away from you and see if you can find those two hands. If you can't, I can't on this side. So it might feel different on either side, but I'm not yanking to get there like the other side. I was able to easily get there. Okay, and now just breathe. especially into your armpits here. And then slowly come out of it, hands come onto the floor, and just tap the toes nice and gentle. Whew, that was an intense stretch. Okay, now for the next one, we're gonna come into a side position. So I'm gonna step my right leg forward so that as I pivot, I face you. My butt's not facing you. So put whatever leg you want forward so that you can face the screen that you're looking at me with. Because eventually we're just gonna come into a wide-legged stance here with our toes pointed out, our legs nice and wide, and if you can bring your hands onto the floor, great. If you can't, you can tent your fingers, and if you want to give me a pause on the video and grab a block, which I said that you didn't need, you can grab a block. But I'm going to start with my hands on the floor. Okay, and I'm thinking that there is a wall behind me, so I'm not shifting my weight back into my heels, but I'm actually making my way forward and just playing with this weight shift here. So if I bring the weight of my body into my forefoot, notice what you feel in your abdominals, notice what you feel in your shoulders. Okay, so this is a position to do a handstand prep too. All of these positions, these very basic positions, lead to difficult positions. Okay, so again, imagining that wall behind me. Now, with this next cue, I want you to very slowly imagine the inseam of your pants trying to pull in and up to the midline of your body. So as you do that, you should almost feel like your pelvic floor lift up slightly. And now this is the only part of your slow flow where we're going to rock side to side, nice and slow without really holding. But you can go as slow as you'd like. Maybe you can hold for a couple seconds on each side. As I'm doing this, I'm shifting my weight back into my heel. So as I'm moving to the right, I'm shifting my weight back so that my knee doesn't come over my toes. It's in fact like shifting the weight back helps me to deepen the crease of my hip, which is what I want. Now try and match your breath with your movement. So as you come back to the center, take an inhale. As you shift to one side to stretch, take an exhale. Nice deep breaths. Good, and then this time come back to the center. Start to heel toe your feet in a little wider than hip width, and then we're going to sit down into our really wide squat here. So take your palms together, and if you notice that your heels are coming up and that you're unable to kind of balance and get there, you can take your blanket that you have and put it underneath your heels. So that way you can feel like you can get further deeper into your hips and take the equation of your ankles out of it, because this stretch does require a lot of ankle mobility, obviously full knee flexion, a lot of hip flexion. Now from here, instead of collapsing into your chest, we're using the hands, and I like to take my thumbs on my sternum and gently like pull my sternum up, and think about my tailbone lengthening to the floor and the crown of my head lengthening to the ceiling, almost making space in my vertebrae with this hip stretch and lower body stretch. And then slowly see if you can just sit back onto your mat. And then just move the blanket away. We're going to end with a rotational stretch. You're going to take your legs straight out first. And now go ahead and bend them. My right leg is going to come onto the floor, and I can help it get there. My left leg is going to be, like my shin is going to be touching my right knee. So I'm kind of in this twisted position here with my legs. And again, if you need a blanket to give you some support, like under your knee, because the hips aren't as flexible, that's fine. Okay, you're going to try and find your sit bones on the floor as best as possible to make your pelvis even. Grow tall through your spine on your inhale. And on your exhale, you can either choose to A, grab onto your knee like this, pulling it close to your left armpit. I like this stretch because it gives me a nice glute stretch, which I really love. Or B, you can take your arm, straighten it out, and put it on the on the left thigh, and then take your other arm behind you to go further into this twist. And on each exhale now, you're using your belly almost like a pump. So I want you to like draw your abdominals in and squeeze on your exhale. As you inhale, let it inflate. And on your exhale, let it squeeze and twist. Now remember, we're always rotating on a tall, straight spine. So try and stay as tall and as lengthened as possible. I'm going to go back to my favorite stretch here. You can keep your head in neutral so my nose is in line with my sternum. You don't have to turn your head. Letting your body settle into this twist. And then slowly unwind yourself. Take your hands to the opposite side. Let your head come down. Your hips can come up. We're just counter twisting. And then slowly switch sides. So again, having the legs out, left leg is going to come under, right leg is going to go on top, and then again, use your blanket or whatever you have to help you feel stable and equal on your pelvis so that your spine can also stay stable and equal. And take a deep inhale in here and start to gently twist to your right side. And I'm doing my body assessment, just feeling how it feels here. My right side feels a lot tighter and stiffer than my left, so I'm not going to twist all the way. And I'm not going to be able to hug it all the way, so I'm just going to use my hand to still feel pretty intense stretch in my glute. So knowing where your limits are in your body is also really key to understanding and avoiding injury. Okay, being really aware and in tune to what's happening. Using your exhales again to create that pump. It's feeling like the lower ribs twisting or rotating over that stable pelvis. Now I feel like my hip released and I'm able to hug it a little bit better, like on the other side. So sometimes it's just waiting and breathing and waiting and breathing until certain tissues understand what you want them to do. Hopefully being gentle can get you a long way. And then very slowly start to untwist your body. Hands to the other side, just let your head come down. And then slowly come on up. And then since you have your blanket, you can use that. We're going to come into a Shavasana. You can use that under your knees, okay, to help give you a little bit of release in your lower back. Or if you feel like you want a little bit of grounding, this feels really nice also to lay on the hips and pelvis. A little bit of weight here can really relax your nervous system, almost like a weighted blanket would, or a hug. And then wherever you have your blanket, let your body fully rest on the floor, letting your shoulder blades flatten out, maybe getting rid of your ponytail, and finding like the most comfortable spot for the back of your skull to rest. Just giving yourself permission now to just process this information of the movement that we just did. Releasing any tension in your jaw. Any tension around your eyes and your forehead. Just staying soft and relaxed here. Just for a few seconds of the day, allowing your body to fully surrender onto the floor. Giving you this moment of slowing down. Start to take another long, slow, deep inhale through the nose. And then with pursed lips, breathe it out through the mouth. I'm going to do that again. Inhale. Once more, inhaling. And then just breathe normally. Start to just wiggle your fingers and your toes to awaken your body. Bending one knee at a time, taking your time. Roll over to one side, coming into a fetal position. And then slowly use your hands to help lift your body upright into a seated position. You can keep your eyes closed as you move or have a gentle gaze. And then again, finding a tall spine so that energy can freely flow up and down through the spine and supply the rest of your body. Letting that channel be free and open. Take your hands together at the center of your chest. Bow your head down towards yourself, thanking yourself for slowing down for this practice and really paying attention to your body, to your breath. Hopefully taking this moment of slowing down and how it felt into the rest of your day. Namaste. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye.